Welcome back to the channel. We're back with our Edge of Eternities Commander deck profile with Xu-Ifit, Osteoharmonist. For 3 mana, you get a 2/3 where you tap it to return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. It's also a skeleton in addition to its other types and has no abilities. Activate only as a sorcery, so we can't do it in response to it being removed. But we do have ways to make sure we get activated the turn it comes out. We have plenty of creatures that we want to see reanimated in order to, knock at the downside of the ability that we normally wouldn't want because they don't have that ability anymore. Plenty of ways to get stuff into the graveyard and plenty of ways to buff our skeletons. But that's the general overview of the deck. Let's get into it card by card. We have Altered Dementia. In order to sacrifice a creature, target player puts cards equal to the sacrifice creature's power from the top of the library to the graveyard, allowing us to mill our opponents just a little bit while we're getting, or we can mill ourselves just a little bit if we want certain cards in our graveyards while we're getting our stuff into the graveyard by sacrificing it. Arcane Signet for some mana, Charcoal Diamond for some mana, Conjurer's Closet in order to make sure we can blink our creatures. This way, there are ones that we did reanimate that we want the ability of, we could blink them, they reset their status in order to get that ability again. Jet Medallion for some cost reduction, Lightning Grease to make sure we get a haste onto Xu-Ifit to make sure his ability can be activated the turn he comes out. Mage Right Stone, untap target creature in order to make sure you can use Xu-Ifit's ability again. Petrar's Seal, untap target legendary creature, such as Xu-Ifit, in order to use its ability again. We like to see it, and if not, we get some mana. Soul Ring for some mana. Swift Boots, in order to make sure we use Xu-Ifit's ability the turn he comes out. Also, that little bit of protection is nice. Dazzling Elixir, this gives us activated abilities creatures control can be activated the turn they come out. And it goes to untap a creature, depending on what you need at the time, if you have the mana. Altered Wretched enters the battlefield, sacrifice a non-token creature, potentially one of the ones we want to reanimate if it has a bad ability that just gives us downsides. If you do, draw X cards and mill X cards where X is that creature's power. I mean, potentially we could just deck ourselves out if we need to. And you could return this from your graveyard to your hand for 3 mana, and yeah. And then you craft this with 1 or more creatures by paying 4 in order to get the other side. We're not really doing that too often now. I mean, it's an option, just not one we're really using. Ancient Stone Idol, 12/12, costs 1 less to cast for each attacking creature, so it could be potentially used again on the battlefield as Trample, and when it dies, get a 6/12 artifact creature token. Normally you're paying 10 for this, but potentially just tapping a creature to get it from the graveyard. Overall, just good ability. Or just, when we get on the battlefield, just on its own ability. Artisan of Kozilek, whenever you cast a spell, you may return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield, allow us to reanimate some of our good stuff that we have there in the graveyard, while having Annihilator itself, in order to give our opponents some downsides. Cryptghast, or we could just get it back with Xu-Ifit's ability, just have a 10/9 in the battlefield as well. Cryptghast, in order to tap our swamps for some additional mana, giving us that additional mana we need. Death Baron, skeletons you control and other zombies you control get +1/+1 and have death touch, allowing us to guard ourselves with all of our creatures, because almost everything's a skeleton with Xu-Ifit's ability. Death Shadow gets -X where X is your life total. Oh no, it's just going to be a 1 mana creature that dies right away. And then we reanimate it with Xu-Ifit. I'm probably butchering this name, by the way. I do apologize. And doesn't have that ability, so you just have a 13/13. For essentially just 3 mana or 4 mana, depending where we're at. Death Priest Merkle, 4 mana for 2/2, buff your skeletons, and at the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, may pay 1 if you do create a 1/1 black skeleton creature token, allowing some additional skeletons on the board. Desecration Elemental, Fear, whenever a player plays a spell, sacrifice a creature, just sacrifice itself and then bring it back with Xu-Ifit in order to get a free 8/8 essentially. Oops, sorry, I scrolled too far. Devouring something. Strasus. Flying, trample, 9/9. Maybe upkeep, sacrifice a creature, or sacrifice a creature to regenerate this creature. Normally it's 8 mana. We could potentially get it without that ability, but still just a powerful 9/9 with Xu-Ifit's ability. Like to see it. Or buff it even more with Dead Priest of Merkle to get me into a 10/10. Disciple Bolus, when this creature enters, sacrifice another creature, gain X life, and draw X cards, where X is that creature's power. We have plenty of creatures that have super strong stats, like this 9/9 we just saw. That'll allow us to gain some life and draw some cards. Ghoul Caller, Gisa. Sacrifice another creature, create X 2/2 black zombie creature tokens where X is the sacrifice creature's power. We may not need them to attack. We may be able to basically get double the power and toughness on the board depending on what we have. Geese of the Hellraiser. Skeleton and zombies get +1/+1 and have menace, allowing our big creatures to attack in for some big damage. And whenever you commit a crime, create 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. Only happens once each turn, so you do during each turn, not just during your own turn, in order to get more and more zombies onto the battlefield. Grey Merchant Asphodel. We have a lot of stuff with a high casting cost, a lot of which comes with a lot of devotion to black, meaning that we're gonna burn our opponents for a whole bunch of damage. We also might have what if we like blink this with Conjurer's Closet, that does it again and again. Illuminor's Zera's, 3 mana for 3/3. Sacrifice another creature, add a mana, black mana. You can sacrifice creature's mana value. I mean, say if we just reanimated like an 8/8, we're getting that back. We're getting 8 mana off of it, where we only paid tap a creature to get it back. Leveler comes into play, remove your library from the game. We have a 10/10, that doesn't matter, right? No, because we're not really using that ability. We're using Xu-Ifit's ability to make sure that it just we just get a free 10/10 that we can then sacrifice for some other abilities, maybe. Mikaeus the Unhallowed, Intimidate. Whenever a human deals damage to you, destroy it. Other non-human creature tokens you control get +1/+1 and have Undying. Allow us to reanimate some creatures, allowing us to get those abilities back on the battlefield. Get those creatures back on the battlefield just like we want to. Phyrexian Soul Gorger, cumulative upkeep that we don't want to pay, because we're not gonna, with the Xu-Ifit's ability, removing his ability. Rotting Regisaur, at the beginning of your upkeep, discard a card. I mean, well, sometimes that's useful for us, because we want some other creatures from our hand into the graveyard. But also just regenerating this and having a free 7/6 is worth it as well. Shadowheart, Dark Justiciar. 2 mana, sacrifice another creature, draw X cards where X is that creature's power. Say if we just got our Phyrexian Soul Gorger, we're drawing 8 cards. Super good ability for just 2 mana, I'd say. Skeleton Crew, another way to buff our skeletons. Whenever one or more creatures leave your graveyard, aka when we reanimate with Xu-Ifit, I'll get another 2/2 blank skeleton, and then you can return Skeleton Crew from your graveyard to the battlefield tap for 6 mana. We're tending to not do that too often. Soul Divide Adnate, sacrifice a black or artifact creature, and add black mana equal to that creature's casting cost to your mana pool. You only, play this. Okay, I know it's only as an interrupt. It's like, that's weird. But no, being able to sacrifice our 5 mana spells, 6 mana spells, getting that 6 mana, all for the cost of tapping 2 creatures. I mean, I think I'll take that deal. Citrus Supplier, in order to mill our cards, in order to get the cards into the graveyard in the first place. Sir Conrad the Grim, whenever another creature dies or is put into the graveyard, deal 1 damage to each opponent. You could also add each player mills a card, allowing us to get some cards into our graveyard. But both are good abilities because our creatures can be dying constantly, and we're gonna be dealing damage to our opponent constantly. Umbral, and I mean, if he does get removed, you still have a 5/4. Umbral Caller Zealot. Another way to sacrifice our creatures in order to surveil 1, potentially putting the cards that we don't want to draw into our graveyard so we could reanimate them with Xu-Ifit. Or, maybe something has that ability that we don't want to pay the upkeep for. We'll just use this, sacrifice it, and get to surveil 1 while we're at it. Violent Tumor. Enters the battlefield, search library for a card, put it into your graveyard. This way you can then reanimate it. Probably gonna be, maybe Leveler, Devouring Strias. Something that we really want to see in the graveyard. Void back in there, maybe. Whenever you cycle this card, put Death Touch counter on target creature you control, giving that creature Death Touch, and getting that into the graveyard to reanimate it. For our enchantments, we have Black Market Connections for a little bit of draw power, a little bit of creatures, a little bit of mana, all the stuff we like to see. Cemetery Tampering, Hideaway 5, whenever we have 20 more cards in our graveyard, we get to cast that spell for free, which we have a lot of things that cost more than 5 in here, so it's worth it. But we also get to mill some cards, which is also worth it for us. Corpses of the Lost, 3 mana, skeletons you control get +1/+0 on haste, allowing other things that we reanimate with Xu-Ifit to attack the turn they come out. And when Corpse of the Lost skeleton enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 skeleton power creature token, where at the beginning of your end step, if you descended this turn, you may pay 1. If you do, return Corpse of the Lost to its owner's hand, allowing us to get an additional zombie when it comes back. Cover of Darkness enters the battlefield, choose a creature type, aka skeleton. Creatures of the chosen type have fear, giving us that big buff for our skeletons. Kaya's Ghost form. We want ways to reanimate our creatures. This way, when they do get removed, they can come back. This helps us do just that. This way, maybe we wanted the ability of Death Priest and Merkle comes back rather than having to have it revived with Xu-Ifit. Phyrexian Arena for some draw power. Ripples of Undeath in order to mill the cards that we don't want in our deck into the graveyard, and paying some mana to get the cards we want out of our graveyard back to our hand. Defile's Judgment, or to benefit off of reviving all of our creatures by drawing cards, creating some black zombie druid tokens, or creating treasure tokens. And Tortured Existence. Choose and discard a creature card, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand, get rid of the ones that we want to reanimate with their downsides in order to get back our ones without the downsides just to cast those. For our instance, we have Bitter Triumph for some removal, and also sacrificing our creatures with the bad upkeep abilities. Dark Ritual for some mana, Deadly Dispute for a little sacrifice ability, along with some draw power. Entomb, in order to put our besting into the graveyard so we can then revive it at a later turn. Fake Your Own Death, in order to, once again, revive one of our creatures, have it come back with its ability based on the state-based action things. Feign Death, same thing essentially. Same thing, but not that after all, just depending on what mana you want to spend. Sacrifice one creature you control, add mana to your mana pool, equal to the casting cost. Once again, sacrifice our 8 mana stuff that we just reanimated to get that. Sun Half, another way to sacrifice our big creatures in order to get 2 copies of them, this time with their abilities. Supernatural Stamina, another way to reanimate our stuff. Undying Mouse, same thing. Oh no, wait, actually this one is when this creature dies, returns to battlefield 1/1 counter, so it's reanimating it. And Withering Torment for some removal. Buried Alive, in order to put our stuff we want to reanimate into the graveyard. Feed its form for some removal. Midgar, City of Mako, in order to sacrifice a creature, draw some cards. Reanimate, in order to reanimate our best thing, or maybe our opponent's best thing. Unmarked Grave, search away for a non-legendary card. Put into a graveyard and shuffle, allowing us the ability that we're going to want in the graveyard for our 9/9, and Victimize in order to recur some of our stuff. There's a Malakir Rebirth, the Cabal Coffers, Baju Kebab, Cursed Dune Yard, Phyrexian Tower, and Swamps for our lands. But that's the video there. If you guys liked the deck and liked the video, make sure you like the video. If you want to see more like this, subscribe so you can stay tuned. And just overall, hope you guys have a great rest of the day.